In the dying days of World War II, the Nazis hid millions of dollars worth of looted gold here in the Bavarian Alps.
The order goes out to hide the gold. The last thing they want is for it to fall into the hands of the Americans. But where do they hide it? Well, they've got mountains, they've got forests, they've got the lakes. And I'm here to find it.
What happened to that gold remains one of the greatest mysteries of the war. At the end of World War II, the Allies made a series of shocking discoveries. Hidden in trains, bunkers, and deep underground, they found mountains of stolen treasure.
That must have been like going into Aladdin's cave.
Hitler and the Nazis had looted an entire continent and committed the greatest theft in history. Now, a team of investigators is opening up cold case files of Nazi plunder still missing today.
We're talking about things that are worth tens of millions of dollars.
Robert Edsel is an expert in Nazi looted treasure.
Hundreds of thousands of objects are still missing. Well, we have a lot of digging to do.
Joining him is Second World War historian James Holland.
None of this was really his. He'd just taken it.
And investigative journalist Connor Woodman.
And this is a genuine treasure hunt. We dig a hole in the ground and we find those cases.
Their mission, uncover new clues.
Oh gosh, this is it.
Explore Nazi hideouts.
Whoever built this brick wall really didn't want anyone to get through to the other side.
Find out how the treasure was stolen and where it might be now.
What a piece of history.
The team is meeting at the headquarters of the Monuments Men Foundation, an organization that has found and returned many looted Nazi treasures to their rightful owners. Foundation President Robert Edsel briefs art and restitution expert Dorothee Schneider on a new investigation.
The Nazis were incredibly prodigious looters of gold. I mean, armies have always stolen gold. It's been part of war since it was invented, but no army and no country ever stole gold on such an industrial scale as Nazi Germany.
Yeah, and in this American report outlines how much gold was taken from all these different countries. I mean, it's a staggering amount.
In today's money, over $20 billion of gold was plundered by the Nazis from the occupied countries.
This is just the hit list. I mean, Belgium, Holland, looting Greece, Albania, Yugoslavia, Italy, Poland. They didn't miss any countries.
The Nazis stored their gold at the central bank in Berlin, the Deutsche Reichsbank. But by the war's end, the bullion had vanished.
After the war, much of the gold that was stolen by the Nazis was found, but there's still millions of dollars of gold missing, and that's the focus of our investigation. And I think we need to get on the ground and begin our investigation right here in Germany.
On February 3rd, 1945, the Deutsche Reichsbank in Berlin was almost completely destroyed in a bombing raid. 1 week later, Nazi officials hid more than 90% of their gold reserves 200 miles away deep in a salt mine. James Holland is on his way to investigate the biggest discovery of looted gold in history.
We're now driving through deepest central Germany, and this is where Patton's Third Army, in the final stages of the war, came across one of the biggest hoards of gold ever discovered.
The Merchers salt mine kept the gold safe from Allied bombs, but not American soldiers. On April 7th, 1945, acting on a tip-off, they discovered a Nazi El Dorado. Merchers is still a working mine.
Hi.
Senior engineer Ulrich Goebbels shows James around.
Thank you.
They descend 1,500 feet underground.
I really cannot get over the scale of this place.
Over 2,500 miles of tunnels with hundreds of chambers made Merchers an ideal hiding place for the looted gold. It's a 3-mile drive to the chamber where American soldiers found the Nazi treasure trove.
Here we are at the gold room now.
Well, What an extraordinary place. I'm absolutely blown away by this.
See, inside it's rather more strange.
Oh, well, let's go and have a look.
When the engineers of the 19th Infantry Division arrived here in April 1945, they blasted a hole into the wall.
Come in.
And were stunned by what they found.
Huh. It's a big room.
Yeah, on about 15 in width and full of gold, of banknotes and so on.
What, just covering the entire floor?
Yeah. More than 8,000 gold bars have been stored here. All the gold reserves of the Reichsbank in former times.
This is just incredible.
Today there are displays here to give visitors a sense of what the chamber looked like in 1945.
$9 billion.
$9 billion.
$9 billion in today's currency. Only the golds. And the banknotes just another $7 billion.
That's an astronomical sum, isn't it?
To give you an impression, you may see from here on, maybe until here, it was one row after the other bags with gold coins, and from here onwards filled with gold bars to the end of the room. And here we have an inventory of those things which have been here.
British gold pounds, bags, 280.
Yeah.
God, it just goes on and on. American $20 gold pieces, 711 bags at $25,000 a bag. And you think that's 1945? You can only imagine, can't you, what it must have been like being the Americans who broke through that wall, came in and just saw this floor awash with gold. It must have been like going into Aladdin's cave.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like something out of the Arabian Nights.
Yeah.
It was an astonishing haul. But not all of the gold from the Reichsbank was hidden here.
There's this interrogation report made by the Allies after they questioned first Reichsbank Director Goller.
Well, it mentions Merkers, but it also talks about trucks being loaded with gold in Berlin and headed to Mittenwald. We better get on the ground and see what we can figure out.
Over $300 million worth of looted gold in today's money was spirited off to the Bavarian Alps. Gold that was earmarked to bankroll a guerrilla war in the mountains by die-hard Nazis. The dreaded last stand never happened, but elite German troops hid the gold all over these mountains, and Connor Woodman is trying to locate it. He's meeting Jürgen Pruska and Andreas Kaiser, who've spent 10 years hunting the missing Nazi gold.
Hi Connor.
Hi, Jürgen.
Hi Andy. May I introduce you, Connor?
Hi.
Hi, Connor.
Nice to meet you. This is the command center.
This is the command center. Here we're planning our expedition using real photographs or old maps.
And what kind of things have you already found?
I'll show you.
Let's take a look at these things. These are gold coins.
Wow. Oh, that's real gold.
Yeah, that's real gold.
It wasn't just the Nazi state hiding bullion. As the US, British and Russian armies closed in, Germany was reduced to anarchy. Officers, soldiers and even civilians, fearful of the future, hid whatever gold they could get their hands on, like these coins that Jürgen and Andreas have found.
There are a lot of different small caches also hidden down there at the Walchensee from persons who'd like to hide it and wait for the end of the war and recover it and start a new life.
But it's the Nazi bullion from the Reichsbank that is their prime target.
That's what we are looking for. This is not a real bullion, but it's exactly like the original, which were transported in those bags from Berlin.
The Americans found a lot of gold, but there still remains. We are sure about this. Yeah?
This, for example, is from Prague. This is silver and silver coins.
In 2007, Jürgen found this stash of silver hidden in the mountains. It's from what is today the Czech Republic, and was most probably looted by German soldiers.
So maybe this was stolen from somebody.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Connor is joining Jürgen and Andreas to help hunt for the missing gold.
Is this the kind of terrain that we're going to be looking in? This kind of lots of trees, dense vegetation?
Back in April 1945, with Allied soldiers overrunning Germany, an elite regiment of Alpine troops was tasked with hiding over $300 million worth of Nazi bullion. Loading 364 sacks of gold bars on mules, they buried the treasure in a series of stashes here in the mountains. The gold could be anywhere, but Jürgen and Andreas have a good idea where to start.
So why this spot in particular?
This is the gold hole.
Can we have a look?
Yeah, we can take a look.
So how much gold was hidden in this spot?
728 billions of gold, each weighing 12 kilograms.
These were tons of gold.
Pure gold.
All there. Just there, full of treasure. It's full of history. And who found that?
The Americans.
The Americans.
Yeah.
Lead on.
Okay.
In 1945, Allied soldiers unearthed 9 tons of gold buried in 5 pits like this one, scattered across the mountainside. Much of this gold was returned to the countries it was stolen from, but historians estimate that over half a ton of gold was never found. Today, it's worth over $20 million.
Signal.
Ooh. As close to the ground as possible, is that right?
As close to the ground as possible.
Connor has joined treasure hunters Jürgen and Andreas in their quest to find buried Nazi gold. They're searching this area because in 1945, the Allies unearthed around 9 tons of bullion in a series of pits on this mountainside.
Keep it moving all the time.
It's estimated that at least half a ton was never found, worth some $20 million in today's money.
Why was a German soldier hiding my gold? Where would I go?
Signal. Non-ferrous.
Nicht Eisen. Okay, that sounds good.
It's not iron.
So if the fact that it's not iron is quite exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The Nazis' hunger for gold was driven by more than mere greed. It was gold that bankrolled their vast war effort. To find out more, historian James Holland is in the UK.
Oh, look at that. That's just amazing.
Thank you.
He's here to meet engineer John Phillips.
And you completely restored this, John?
More or less on my own, yes.
By 1939, Hitler had created a vast war machine. Millions of rifles and small arms, thousands of airplanes and fighting vehicles. All of these needed huge amounts of raw materials. And to pay for them, the Nazis needed gold. And that included the Stug armoured vehicle, like this perfectly restored model.
So you got lots and lots of steel in the tracks as well?
Yeah, that's manganese, high manganese content, very expensive to manufacture.
But it's amazing, isn't it? Because you look at this and you just think great big lump of steel, but actually it's got all these other metals in it as well.
Each Stug weighed 24 tons and cost the Reich the equivalent of 30 kilograms of gold.
And, you know, there is a lot of raw materials here, aren't there? In just one tank, and then times that by 10,000, and then times that by all the Panthers and Tigers and Mark IVs and all the other stuff, and you've got a major problem. Oh, this is still in running order, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Can we give it a go? Of course.
To build weapons like the Stug, the Nazis needed far more natural resources than could be found in Germany. So they had to buy these resources from neutral countries and pay with gold. And when they ran down their gold reserves, they began looting the gold of others.
What an experience. Thank you.
Connor, Andreas and Jürgen are searching for gold buried by an elite unit of Alpine troops.
Seems quite big.
And they think that they may have found something.
Wow! That's for the Carabiner 98. It's for ammunition.
You see, it still works. Like, it still works.
This ammunition clip loaded the Carabiner 98, the standard issue infantry rifle for German soldiers.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's amazing. The clip still works.
It's an interesting find, but the team's sights are set on recovering the buried Nazi gold.
Jonas, this is a nice signal here. Wir kriegen ein Signal von da bis da. Jetzt kriege ich wieder Schatzsucherfieber.
Oh, it's a...
Das war eine Panzerfaust. Das war das Rohr von der Panzerfaust.
Das war das Rohr von der Panzerfaust. That's a pipe of a Panzerfaust. Jetzt müssten wir dann...
And that's part of a weapon?
Yeah, that's a part of the weapon. That was the you know, you put it on your shoulder like this, yeah, like a bazooka.
The Panzerfaust was a German anti-tank weapon. Over 6 million were manufactured, and handheld, it could knock out an Allied tank from 60 yards.
What do you guys think of these? I mean, are these clues for you in what you're looking for? I mean,
well, this is a proof that German soldiers have been here. And those German soldiers were hiding the gold. And so it's a proof soldiers have been here and the gold was hidden here.
I mean, this is evidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, and you can tell from the dates on the bullets that, you know, this is Second World War.
Yeah.
We know that these are Nazi bullets. There were Nazi soldiers standing where we're standing.
The team has uncovered some fascinating war material, but there's hundreds of square miles to search. Andreas and Jürgen's quest for the looted gold will likely continue for many months. In Dallas, the team turns their attention to another potential hoard of Nazi gold, an extraordinary discovery 100 miles north of Bavaria.
Robert, I just sent you a link to a recent article I found about a large stash of gold coins that were found in northern Germany.
Yeah, let's check this out. This looks like it's a good prospect.
I'm here in northern Germany to meet a treasure hunter who, if even half of what they say about him is true, has made one hell of a find.
Connor has come to the Museum Lüneburg to meet a treasure hunter who struck it lucky and the archaeologists tasked with investigating the find's murky provenance.
So, wir würden gerne mal die Funde sehen. Können wir die vielleicht mal rüberbringen?
When Florian Bauch was asked by his local history museum to search a potential archaeological site, he unearthed an incredible find.
So, Florian, describe to me the day then.
I had the first signal, and the first signal was a gold coin. And I know I have to stop there and let the experts do evacuation.
And we've excavated about 2 weeks.
Okay, and after 2 weeks, what did you find?
The result? 217 coins.
Wow. This is a Belgian coin.
That's a Belgian coin.
And are they all from Belgium?
No. For example, these are from France. There are also coins from Italy.
So, you know, 1910 from France, 1876 from Belgium. There's a very good spread of coins here.
So in spite of the age and provenance of the coins found in Lüneburg, is it possible that this $50,000 trove was looted by the Nazis?
There's quite a lot of coins here. Presumably they must have been transported in something. Was there a pot? Was there a bowl, a bag, anything?
We got a very important hint. We found also 2 lead seals.
An examination of the seals reveals these coins are indeed linked to the Nazis.
What can you see on there?
Well, you see the swastika in the middle, see it? We've taken a photograph and blown it up, and so we can see it says Reichsbank, and on the other side it says Berlin and 244.
And these are the kind of seals that the Reichsbank would have used for sealing bags of gold, are they? The seal would have been placed around the tie on the top here.
Yeah, right.
What are the realistic possibilities?
Well, what we know from the Reichsbank, we know that they probably were part of one lot, and also the seals were used from 1940 to 1945.
And then we know that the coins were mostly 19th century coins.
That's it, yeah.
Who buried these coins remains a mystery. Whether it was an official operation, a rogue Nazi feathering his nest, or even an Allied soldier hoping to come back for it, the experts at the Lüneburg Museum can't yet say. But what it reveals is that buried Nazi gold is not just a fanciful myth. The Nazis' MO was simple but brutally effective. Soon after invading a country, they would raid their central bank. Austria, Czechoslovakia, Holland, Belgium, and Poland's gold reserves were all ransacked. On top of that, the Nazis had been robbing their Jewish citizens of whatever wealth they could get their hands on since 1933. But as the tide of war turned against the Third Reich, their need for gold became even more acute. When the Americans found the treasure trove at Mercher's mine, it wasn't just gold bars, coins and currency. There were also 18 sacks of personal jewellery and gold teeth, evidence of a horrifying crime against humanity.
Robert, this is the inventory of the Mercher's mine items, and look at the bottom of that list.
I mean, this is just sick. Teeth fillings, and we know where they came from.
Yeah, and in a recent academic report I found in Germany, these professors came to the conclusion that in the occupied territories, the amount of wealth that was stolen and looted actually paid for 1/3 of the German war effort.
It's just a staggering figure, and you have to wonder how much of that was taken from individuals. And when you think about all the concentration camps, but certainly the one most everybody knows about is Auschwitz.
James has travelled to the Nazis' most notorious death camp to learn how it was used as a macabre gold mine.
The majority of people brought here were foreign Jews who arrived bewildered, a little frightened, but with no real idea of the fate that awaited them. Each person was allowed to bring up to 50 kilograms of personal belongings, and the moment they arrived, they'd be ushered off the trains, told to put down their luggage, and then the fit and able would have been siphoned off as slave labor. The rest, the vast majority, around 75%, would be taken straight to the gas chambers. The left luggage was then rifled through and collected up by the SS guards, and all the gold, all the treasures and trinkets would have been stolen and taken off to line the coffers of the Reich.
The Nazi lust for gold, along with their perverted racist ideology, were about to plunge mankind into its darkest moment of modern times. The death camps run by the SS provided a final grisly opportunity for the Nazis to loot gold and other valuables from Jews. Amongst the vastness of Auschwitz, 30 huts, now demolished, were set aside for the processing of items stolen from the camp's victims. The area was given the name Canada, because in the eyes of the inmates, Canada represented a land of plenty. Prisoners who were selected by the Nazis to sort through the tons of possessions here were dubbed Canada Commandos. Only a handful are still living. But Robert has come to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum to meet Irene Weiss. Irene was just 13 years old when she arrived at Auschwitz.
You've brought some photos here for us to take a look at today.
Yes, there were pictures taken by Nazi soldiers of trains arriving, the separation and processing of the prisoners.
They're documenting the Holocaust.
They're documenting the Holocaust. And
these are the men being separated?
These are the men separated. These are the women and children on their way to the gas chambers.
And these are all of the objects that are piled up, being loaded into the trunk?
Well, yes. They're throwing everything out of the train, and then they were brought to this place where later I ended up working and sorting the stuff out.
These photographs are a unique record of how the Nazis systematically robbed and executed Europe's Jewish community. And for Irene, their importance is greater still, because by a grim coincidence, they were taken on the same day she and her family arrived at Auschwitz.
And I looked at it with magnifying glass, and there I am. This is when my family was separated. These are my two little brothers. This face here, the profile, this is our mother. This is my mother. She is among the many women and children sitting in a wooded area next to one of the gas chambers, waiting to enter.
They were sent straight to the gas chambers?
Yes.
Irene's mother, father, and 4 of her siblings were all exterminated.
And so we were in Auschwitz for about a month, and from then on, we were assigned to work in this Canada section, which was just divided by an electrified fence from crematorium gas chamber number 4.
They were all brought down here, men, women, and children, all put together and told to strip naked, a humiliation in itself. The reason was they were told was that they were about to have a shower, but in fact, having put their clothes and shoes and final possessions in a neat pile, they were then ushered round that corner into the gas chamber where they're about to be murdered. Special Sonderkommando then finally went through those clothes and picked out any valuables.
Those working in Canada doing this work, somewhere in there, presumably someone was working on an area with valuables, with whatever jewelry they would have found or gold items.
We were told that if we find any gold valuables, on pain of death, you must hand it over. So we knew that they wanted it badly.
What a truly awful place. This is a gas chamber. Of course, they'd all been herded in, still believing they were going to be given a shower, and then through apertures like this, the Zyklon B, the gas, would be dropped. It wasn't a quick death, necessarily. It could take up to 25 minutes, and it certainly wasn't painless. Zyklon B would make you suffocate. I mean, can you imagine how painful and horrible that must have been? Once dead, the bodies would have had teeth extracted and gold teeth fillings all removed.
The chimneys belched fire, not just smoke, high into the sky, really flames coming out. So by this time, you could not deny what was going on. I literally asked myself, why are you not crying? I could not cry. It was not, what the eyes saw, the brain couldn't process.
The Nazis destroyed much of the documentary evidence of the atrocities they committed at Auschwitz. But curator Mirek Obstacek is taking James to see a stash of highly incriminating records, which were overlooked when the SS guards abandoned the camp.
So Mirek, what have you got here?
The original camp documents, the reports, of extraction of dental gold.
So they made a recording of this?
Yes. Everybody who perished, who was killed or died in the camp, after his death, these teeth were extracted.
So is this the date he was killed?
Yes.
30th of May, 1942. Yes. And this is his name?
Name, Bukowski Zygmunt. Polish name, surname. Yep. Camp's number.
And that's the one that's tattooed on the arm?
Yes. And this information how many golden teeth were extracted. You see, 4 from the right side and 4 on the left side.
So 8 gold teeth?
8 gold teeth. Next one.
This no name at all?
No name.
Just a number?
Only number.
God. So here's someone with 2 gold teeth, and it's just amazing to think that they're itemizing every piece of gold. I mean, there it is, written in bold, gold. It's itemizing the theft that they're carrying out. It's just unbelievable.
After the war, Allied soldiers discovered a rare audio recording of SS leader Heinrich Himmler. Halfway through his speech to SS officers, he boasts about the looting of Jewish people.
Ich meine die Judenevakuierung, die Ausrottung des jüdischen Volkes. Von euch werden die meisten wissen, was es heißt, wenn 100 Leichen beisammen liegen. Wenn 500 da liegen oder wenn 1000 da liegen. Die Reichtümer, die sie hatten, haben wir ihnen abgenommen. Wir haben diese Reichtümer restlos dem Reich, dem Staat abgeführt.
It's estimated that in Poland, the Nazis stripped 2.5 tons of pure gold from concentration camp victims. But they didn't manage to steal everything. In 2016, researchers at Auschwitz made a heartbreaking discovery.
You can see here.
Oh my goodness, how amazing. We've got a ring.
Yes, golden ring.
Look at that. And what looks like a gold bracelet.
Yes.
So wrapped up in a little bit of cloth.
An X-ray of an inmate's tin cup revealed hidden treasures belonging to an unknown inmate who most likely died in the camp.
Oh.
So this is a lid which covers bottom of the mug, which was made most probably from the tin of very popular chocolate in Poland.
So there was a sort of false bottom here?
Yeah.
It looks incredibly fragile, so I'm not going to touch it, but that was in there and this was underneath?
Yes.
How remarkable. It's amazing to think this is one bit of gold that the Nazis didn't manage to get their hands on.
Yeah.
This woman obviously managed to save it. What an amazing story.
The question for the team is, what happened to the stolen gold after it was shipped out of Auschwitz? They know that SS officer Bruno Melmer was tasked with transporting it to the Central Reichsbank. From there, it would be sent to a private gold refinery called Degussa. Dorothee has been granted rare access to their archives to find out more.
So there's no doubt that Jewish gold went through the Degussa holdings. There's this large correspondence file. Judengold, Jewish gold and silver is mentioned throughout. And when you go to the ledgers of the company, it will say JD, which stands for Jüdisch.
This Juden gold was smelted down with other gold to form new bars of bullion. But what happened to it then?
What is interesting is the gold then went from here, from the reserves, and I found a chart. It talks in percentage how much gold went where. 51% into export, which means it went to countries like Sweden, Portugal, from where Nazi Germany had to buy resources.
It's damning evidence that some of the gold pillaged from the bodies of concentration camp victims made its way to the so-called neutral countries. Now the team switch their investigation to the way in which the Nazis in these states did business, and all trails lead to one country, Switzerland.
Under here, if you're looking for Nazi loot, that's where it could be.
The team are on the trail of gold plundered by the Nazis from Europe's central banks and from the inmates of the concentration camps. James is in Zurich to untangle the secret web of big banks and neutral countries that helped oil the wheels of the German war machine.
It's amazing to think that during the Nazi period, thousands of Germans were coming here to Zurich, and specifically to here, Bahnhofstrasse. And the reason they were all coming to Bahnhofstrasse was because this is Swiss Bank Central. This is where all the major Swiss banks had their offices.
The Swiss banks were notoriously secretive when it comes to their role in World War II. So James is meeting Susan Ronald, a former banker and expert on how the banks and the Nazis did deals.
The interesting thing was Germany tried to sell gold in exchange for war material that they were buying from Portugal, direct to Portugal. And Portugal refused.
What, resources like bauxite?
Portugal absolutely, totally refused. And they actually wrote, they didn't write to Germany, they wrote to the Swiss Banking Association, and they said, we cannot take gold anymore directly from Germany. What we can do is take gold from Switzerland.
Countries like Portugal did not want to be seen openly accepting plundered gold, so the Nazis desperately needed a country that could wash away its dark provenance.
So what happened was the Swiss came up with a system of cloaking the gold. They would take in the gold, rebrand it in some way, and send it on to Portugal in payment.
And then they were fine.
Then they were fine.
They must have known it was still as
Of course they did.
So all that, it's not through moral scruples, it's just through covering their backs.
No, it was more a question of, we think the Allies are going to win the war. We do not want to be punished.
Just how complicit the Swiss were in dealing Nazi gold is still a hotly debated issue. In 1998, the Swiss banks made reparations of over $1 billion to the victims and descendants of the Holocaust. But some, like Susan, believe that to this day there may be Nazi plunder hidden away in the numerous bank vaults deep beneath Bahnhofstrasse.
So, I mean, what are we talking about? How extensive?
The vaults start probably at this intersection here and then go about another half a mile further north.
Under here, if you're looking for Nazi loot, that's where it could be.
If an account remains inactive for 60 years, which all of the Nazi gold has done, then it belongs to the Swiss government.
So they now own
yes,
all the Nazi gold that's possibly still in their vaults.
That's correct. I should add to that as recently as last year, the Swiss Banking Association said that that's just a rumor. There's no gold left.
But you think there is?
Of course. And looted art, and all sorts of things.
As a former senior investment banker, Susan is one of the few people to have seen inside some of these vaults.
My first vault, they actually had a gold room.
What do you mean?
The gold room was filled with ingots of gold.
What, just all stacked up?
Yeah. Yeah.
How amazing. Yes. So proper kind of Aladdin's cave.
Absolutely.
And did you see anything that perhaps you shouldn't have done, or?
Oh, yes. I got into a lot of trouble.
Are you able to say, or is it all, are you under sort of pain of death?
I will say that the bank manager who was accompanying us told me that I'd broken the Swiss secrecy laws by looking at one of the sliding walls where they hang the art. So,
and did you see things that were definitely looted?
Yes.
In the war?
Yes.
Goodness.
We may never know for sure how much, if any, Nazi gold remains in the vaults under this street. But now the team train their sights on another target. The bullion that passed through Switzerland over 70 years ago and was used to keep the Nazi war machine alive.
I found this report about how Germany and Portugal had these really close trade relationships.
Let me see. References their purchases of wolfram, which is German for tungsten. And we know that tungsten was a critical material for the production of armor-piercing artillery shells. Yeah, and then look at this. April 30, 1945, 5 very heavy chests of gold were brought into Portugal by the German legation at Lisbon. What I want to know is, what happened to all of that gold?
Connor has flown to Lisbon to investigate the Portuguese connection. 75 years ago, the city was a hotbed of spies, intrigue, and crooked dealings. The perfect place for high-ranking Nazis to barter their plundered gold for raw materials. In recent years, several journalists and historians have begun digging into this murky past.
I'm on my way to meet an investigative journalist this morning called Antonio Lusa. Now, he was the first guy to connect all the dots and tell this story that exposed how Portugal was connected to the gold that was looted by the Nazis. Okay, so what we know for sure, this triangle was set up with Switzerland to facilitate the Nazis buying things from Portugal, using looted gold, without it being obvious to the rest of the world. Do we know how much came from Nazi Germany?
Well, about 123 tons.
Antonio believes some of this gold was sent to Lisbon's jewelry quarter.
They sold it to small jewelry and gold shops that you see here in the old part of Lisbon. They smelted it to small ingots.
So they took the 12.5 kilo ingots, broke them up into smaller pieces and then sold them off individually, which makes the gold untraceable.
It was a way to get rid of this gold.
It's incredible, isn't it, that the government is organising this sale of gold.
But they have been doing it not only in the 2 last years of the war, they have been doing it for decades after the war.
It's an extraordinary allegation. Not only did the Portuguese regime enable the Nazis to launder their dirty gold, but they continued handling this gold for many years after. Antonio can't say for sure where all the gold went, but some of it, very likely, flowed through Rue d'Oro, Gold Street. This is where Portuguese officials sold some of the Nazi gold, which would then be made into rings, brooches and bracelets. To find out how easily it's done, Connor has brought along some scrap gold.
Let me show you a few of the things that I've brought today. I have a gold ring, I have a pair of gold cufflinks and a gold necklace. If I wanted to destroy the provenance of these items so that you could not tell where they came from, but I wanted to leave here with just a piece of untraceable gold, how could I do that?
Agora é posto num cadinho, é derretido e vazado, e faz uma barra.
Okay, so the equipment that you have here, you'd be able to smelt these items down now?
É possível derreter e demora à volta de 5 minutos.
In 5 minutes?
Sim.
He looted the national gold reserves from the occupied countries. He stole the wedding rings, jewelry and gold teeth from concentration camp victims. For Hitler, gold never lost its luster. It was the currency that would pay for his 1,000-year Reich. But of all the looted Nazi treasure that went missing during the war, gold has proved to be the most difficult to track down.
There's no way now of telling where that came from.
Sim, o ouro é fácil, depois de derreter, ninguém sabe o que lá estava.
It's just a completely unidentifiable gold nugget. Could have come from anywhere. You start with a bunch of jewelry, you end up with something that's just worth hard, easily transportable currency. It's the perfect material.
The hunt for Hitler's gold has taken the team from mine shafts.
This is just incredible.
To the mountainside.
Wow!
I mean, this is evidence, isn't it?
To a survivor of the Holocaust who witnessed firsthand the Nazis' greed and inhumanity.
These are my two little brothers.
They were sent straight to the gas chamber.
Yes.
Of all the looted Nazi treasure, gold was the most precious. It was the lifeblood of the Third Reich, an element so vital they would do anything to get their hands on it.
The majority of gold that was looted by the Nazis was probably smelted down and sold and scattered to the four corners of the globe. We just don't know anymore where that gold ended up. It could be in the jewellery you're wearing today. It could even be in your wedding ring. Fact is, it could be anywhere.